Alrighty, let's see what we have playing today.
War. War never changes.
Another documentary on the Great War. Boring.
We began to use atomic energy not as a weapon,
Enough of the history lessons.
but as
Let's
a
see what else is on.
source of power.
Now this is more my speed. But I guess I should start at where this all began. Or at least as far back as I can remember anyways. The vault? Or no, it was before that. I was getting ready to go make a speech at an old veterans hall. Of course, this was all before the war. Back when Codsworth, Sean, and Nora and I were all still a family. As my first real touchdown in this world, or the world I now live in, happened in a vault, in a freezing cryopod. Or, I guess rather in my case, it was thawing. Not quite sure what shut down the systems that day, but I'm thankful nonetheless. So my first day back into the Boston fallout was, well, a rather jarring one. You can imagine how I felt waking up freezing cold and with basically nothing on me other than the Vault 111 jumpsuit, which pretty much only served as a reminder of how screwed I've been. My wife's gone, child is too. I needed to get out of there. Had to find what was going on and make some kind of sense of everything. And after all, this was before I knew what the surface had looked like or, you know, what it would hold. Turns out when the nukes fell, yeah, it pretty much wiped everything and left everything completely radioactive. Just as you'd imagine from an all-out nuclear war. That's kind of a shame. But if I'm gonna survive out here, my main concerns are, of course, food and water. Dealing with all other attackers and any other kind of threats will have to come later. Making sure that I'm not going to die of radiation poisoning or just general dehydration is definitely number one. So I'm going to head back to my old house and see what I can scavenge from there. Sure, not much is left. And who do I find but our old chum Codsworth? Apparently, even though everything else had broken down and been ravaged, he still remained. And with, well, kind of a lighter heart as well. This was fantastic. A robot that had survived through the whole war could certainly catch me up on all the details I'd missed. So Codsworth and I chatted and he caught me up on everything. Apparently I'd been gone for 200 years. Gotta say, I'm looking pretty good for my age. Anyways, back to a more serious note. If I'm gonna survive in this wasteland, I'm gonna need some shelter. Saw some big cockroaches on my way out of the vault, and gotta say, if that's the size of cockroaches now, I'm a little worried to see the rest of the world. Of course, Codsworth stayed the same size, but he's a robot, so that doesn't really count. Any hoosers, I'm gonna use my military background to scrap everything and throw together a few structures. Get together a little base of operations, if you will. And, well, with enough work, I got something nice enough to call it a day. At least a place to sleep. Day 2 in the wasteland, building up more buildings. I figured if I'm out here and it looks this bad, maybe there's other people that want a place that's safe. So maybe if I build up enough structures, get it looking nice enough, add some defenses, people will want to join my cause. What is my cause, you ask? It's pretty simple. It's to not die. Also, I want my base of operations to be sort of organized, you know? Call me a pre-atomic nerd all you wanna, but a clean community is a happy one. And I want a happy community. Anyways, after getting my workshops up and running, for the most part at least, I made my way down to the city Codsworth had told me about, just down the hill from Sanctuary. On my way, though, I found a lost pup. But hey, you know, I'll take it. Radiation didn't make it really huge and want to kill me, so
Okay.
sure, the more the merrier. It was late that night whenever I went strolling into town, and, well, there was certainly a warm welcome waiting for me. Tons of gunfire, and bullets flying past me like leaves in a breeze. So I decided to camp outside. Not too close, though. We'll try again tomorrow. Day 3, my combat skills have gotten a little rusty. I mean, being frozen for 200 years will give anybody a little bit of rigor mortis in the elbows, am I right? So I guess I'll just use these raider scum as a little bit of target practice. After I managed to clean them up, my first interaction with a non-violent, sensible human seemed pretty nice. But of course, they were having their own problems surviving out in this rigid wasteland and needed a few favors from me. A couple bandits had holed them up in here, and well, I can certainly understand. On my way into town, they tried to kill me, and well, I got the better of them. Anyways, they discussed a set of power armor on the roof, and I figured, hey, you know, if I can help some people along the way and get a little more defensive, why not?
Employ these proven techniques, and your camaraderie will blossom. In fact, you might just make some lifelong friends.
And so after a quick mowdown of the bandits that still remained, and getting my newfound friends settled into a slump of a town, well, it was time for me to head out in search of food. If I'm gonna have a colony of people, I gotta be able to feed them so they don't start eating each other. That'd be gruesome. Certainly not how I want to spend my couple of days post-thawage. Day 4, I'm back home after my scrounging and scavenging, and I decided to pack up all my gear that I thought I would need and head down into the city. Along my way, though, I managed to stumble upon an old drive-in theater. Ah, the memories of this place. Good movies were shown here. Well, I think those days are far gone now. No movies will be shown. Only a whole lot of mole rats waiting on me, which are also giant, still hairless. But one nice thing about this drive-in is it could work as a great place to start another settlement. It was flat, and minus the big lake of radiated water in the middle, it was perfect. So I dug in my roots a little bit here at the drive-in and set things up minorly so. This way I could always come back and at least have a place to rest. Quick time out, as I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been here supporting the channel along the way. I know these 100 days don't come quickly, and for that I say thank you for your patience. However, I would also like to say if you're enjoying, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe. This 100 days video took me around 100 hours of gameplay. And of course that's not to mention the hours of commentary work, editing, and modding the game myself. So this project was massive, and I'm sure you can understand now why there hasn't been a 100-day video on the channel for a little while now. Nonetheless, we'll get back to the video, and of course, smash like and subscribe. You're all beautiful people, you know what to do. Day 5, I'm heading down into Lexington. There's a large factory there. The settlers had told me about said a group of raiders had been harassing them and they wanted my help. And if I'm going to survive out here, I'm going to need all the help I can get. So we'll do a little back scratching both ways, huh? And boy howdy, they were right. The large factory was crawling with raiders. But thanks to my friend that I had recently found along the roadside, things were handled pretty easily. By that I mean I just sort of waited back while he ran in with a big flamethrower thing, and I just sort of popped off the ones that remained. Anyways, with the raiders dealt with, it was time for me to walk all the way back across the wasteland and tell them I did it. One of the biggest negatives about being out here is, well, there's no great form of travel. No buses, no horses, no cars. I could ride on the dog, but who's to say he'll survive that for too long, given all the weight I'm already making him carry. And on day 6, we were still traveling. Of course, it's a hostile wasteland, so it's never easy nor quick, but man, can you think about the abs that I'm going to have after all this walking? They're going to be solid steel.
Rock hard abs!
Nonetheless, once I returned to Sanctuary, I told Preston about the things that I had managed to achieve and the settlers that I'd helped. He congratulated me and told me it was a great way to get us started back to reforming the Minutemen. Not that I really cared about his Minutemen, but if it meant that I could have a small army at my back, well, day 7 and I've managed to survive a whole week of the Wasteland. I chalk that up to a success given the amount of people that I've mowed down. Seems like fatality rate's pretty high out here. I'm traveling back down to the drive-in. Also, once down there, I figure I could, set this outpost up a little bit better. So that way I can make a stop here every time I leave Sanctuary and, maybe actually call it decent. And after finishing up there, Preston had told me that there was a second settlement that might need my help. And, well, let's go see what's up. And drumroll please. Yep, big surprise, they have some more problems with raiders. Man, what is this? Complete anarchy. No overarching government, nobody to keep justice, just raiders running around, shooting and looting. Of course, I guess they're no different from me, really, if you think about it. I decided to put the whole settlement nonsense on hold. I've gotten my fair taste of slaying raiders for now. I'm gonna head to Diamond City, finally see what this whole thing's all about. And after finding a super peaceful entrance, and by super peaceful, of course I mean littered with turrets and guards everywhere. I guess if you want to keep the city safe in a time like now, kind of what you gotta do. Nonetheless, on my way in, I met a girl named Piper who was hell-bent on freedom of speech. Which seems a bit strange given there's a lot of other major world issues going on. We got raiders and giant roaches. Like, all the things, giant roaches. Why did they have to live? Nonetheless, she decided to join up with me in my pursuit of, well, liberating the Commonwealth of all of its bad guys. Anyways, I made my way over to the detective agency that I'd been told about. Decided to see what I could find. Turned out, though, the detective had gone missing.
I know you must be busy.
Anybody else see the irony there? I gotta go find the detective. I have to detect the detective. So again, it's a favor for a favor. If there's one thing I'm learning from this wasteland, it's that nothing comes free, cheap, or easy. Also, don't even get me started on the currency. Caps. Bottle caps. Do you know how inefficient it is to carry 500 caps with you? They don't stack. My man purse can't carry that much. Don't ask me where I put them. Trust me, you don't want to know. Day 9, I'm out to find the detective. He was last seen going into an old subway station just a few blocks over from the city, so why not take a gander? And after slaying my way through a lot of henchmen, seriously, a lot of heads rolled that day, I discovered the station actually led to another vault. And yeah, this one turned out to be full of thugs and drugs. But that's okay, because after slaying them all, I found a really good pistol. After finding Nick Valentine, we escaped and talked about the situation at hand. Told me a guy named Kellogg had probably been the one that kidnapped my son and that he was a ruthless mercenary. Joke's on you, Kellogg. I'm ex-military. Think that one-ups current mercenary, right? It's got to. So after going and searching the guy's house, it's time to follow my doggo. Thank goodness that I found him back at the Red Rocket, otherwise I don't really know how I would get past here, Like, how am I supposed to sniff this guy's shirt and know where he went? Day 10, we were still following dog meat when finally we ended up at some military fort. Fort was packed to the brim with synths, and these things hit hard, and for some reason wanted to destroy everything that wasn't a synth. Must be the laser weapons they use. I'm not even sure how do you defend against a laser gun? Is this Star Wars? Anyways, after fighting through floors and floors of robots, I found Kellogg and made him pay. The good old-fashioned way. Shot him in the face. Nobody will be enjoying his cereal anymore. Get it? Like Frosted Flakes. Any hoosers. Looted his stuff and the synths. Continued on with my journey. Day 11, finally back in Diamond City, where Nick, Piper, and myself had discussed going and finding the Institute. But before all that, I want to head back to Sanctuary and drop off all the loot I've gotten. Of course, this means walking back across the Wasteland, but on my way, I wanted to stop back off at that settlement and tell them that I've dealt with the raiders. And of course, they were thankful and, told me they'd joined the cause, blah, 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 blah. So I went ahead and set up some beds there so I could always sleep here and have some food as well. What they say, the more campsites you have, the merrier. Not quite sure that's how it goes, but my brain got a little fried being frozen for 200 years. Day 12, back in Sanctuary, settling things in and dropping off items I won't need in my later travels. I'm going to make this the greatest settlement in the Wasteland one day, but for now I'm taking it slow and adding one vendor or worker at a time. After this, I used my first caravan supply box and made travel a bit easier. I could travel with these caravans, and it was kind of like a quick travel or fast travel, Sit on the back of a Brahmin, take things easy. Finally, no more walking back and forth across the Wasteland. I still had to walk back and forth across the Wasteland, but once I got to my checkpoint settlements, then it was easy. Day 13, I made my way to Good Neighbor, which, trust me, there were no good neighbors there. Oh, such a dad joke. Nonetheless, I needed to visit the memory bank and see what the doc there could do for me. She's supposed to be one of the best in neurotechnology. Well, I have a bit of a puzzle for her. So she loaded up a simulation so we could track through Kellogg's past memories and try to find any relevant information regarding the Institute. Apparently the Institute had a scientist go rogue, and well, now we just gotta go find him. So day 14, I'm trying to upgrade my base a bit. You know, if I don't make it back out of the glowing sea, kinda want my people to be taken care of and whatnot. So got the base upgraded, then I worked on my armors and weapons as well. I mean, it's the glowing sea. We have normal amounts of radiation out here and things are huge. I'm a little scared to see what lives down there, if anything at all. Day 15, and it's finally time to head out on our adventure. Glowing sea may not be inviting, but I'm coming anyways. Just like that weird aunt you don't want at Christmas, but she'll always be there. Anyways, it's a long trek down there, not to mention that once I get there, I'll have to go through tons of radiation.
It's mutation. Thanks to our old pal radiation, your DNA has become more interesting.
Once I did reach the glowing sea, apparently these weird funky children of Adam knew exactly who I was talking about when I said the escaped scientist, so they pointed me in the direction, and yeah, more walking through radiation and absolute nothingness. This is fun. But it turns out the scientist that had escaped from the Institute was actually a super mutant. Whoa, didn't see that one coming. I kind of thought that they were like an elitist kind of group, you know, if you weren't human and you were in the Fallout, well, toodaloo. After a short conversation with the super mutant and him telling me how I could actually infiltrate the Institute, I decided to get the heck home. Not gonna lie, I don't really like the glowing sea much, and as long as I can avoid it, I will. 16, I'm working on making Sanctuary look not only nice, but also actually being lived in.
When making new acquaintances, practice the art of nonverbal communication to gain that interpersonal edge.
You know, like functional, having shops and people doing jobs. It's like a small town, if you will. Day 17, I'm back down in the ruined city of Boston to try tracking a synth courser. Apparently they have some kind of signal that they send out that allows them to teleport to the Institute. So if I can find one of those, take them out, get that signal for myself, well, maybe I can bingo bango bammo, get myself in. But once I found the courser, turns out he was in a huge crossfire fight with a bunch of gunners. So I just took out everybody. Synths, gunners, I don't care. If you're standing in my way, you're going down. Day 18, I finally caught up with the courser and served him his last course. Get it? Like a meal? All these dad jokes really need to be put somewhere, and it's not out into the open. I defeated the courser, I freed the synth that he was after, and got the chip out of his head. Time to go back to Good Neighbor and have it inspected. Of course, the doc there couldn't help me, so I'm off to find another hidden cult in the Commonwealth and see if they can't give me some answers. Seems like every time I get one answer, I get 5 more questions that pop up. I don't like this game, but the new group I'm looking for is called the Railroad. What a dumb name for being in the future. Day 19, I'm starting to build a teleportation machine. Nah, I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but you know, I'll take it anytime. Anyways, I'll need it to get into the Institute, and apparently this thing comes in multiple parts, so I gotta make area for it and give it power. Also gotta go scrounging for the missing pieces I need. And so on day 20, I'm heading back out into the Wasteland as I need to find those specific pieces. But I got a bit distracted by a few super mutants along the way, and was able to convince one of them to join my band of merry outlaws. So, you know, I guess the distraction wasn't a total waste, as this strong guy can, well, carry a lot, as his name implies. I guess he'll be my pack mule from now on. Day 21, making my way back to Good Neighbor. Want to see if the doc there has a biometric scanner that I can take a little 5-finger discount, steal, borrow, however you want to say it, before I go trudging back through abandoned hospitals, which, look, I don't even like fully operational modern hospitals, so much less you make it run down and fully irradiated with tons of ghouls inside of it.
Remember that with your impressive agility, you can act more decisively in vats. See?
That's just disgusting. But as it turned out, Good Neighbor didn't have a scanner, so it's time to head south to the hospital. But along my way, I found the one and only Bethesda Comics. That's right, the creators of the Elder Scrolls series. Yeah, used to love them before the war, but who has time for those massive time sinks nowadays? Anyways, I entered and I was greeted with an insane amount of rad roaches. Come on, Bethesda, what are you doing? Keep your office clean. Not only was this disgusting, but also horrifying. I hadn't seen so many roaches before, and I hope I never see that many again. Nonetheless, in the basement of the comic book store, there was a full set of Skyrim-based power armor. Are you kidding me, Todd Howard? You've been holding out on me like this? Of course, I took it, and immediately returned home to marvel at it. Day 22, while working on my new power armor, I realized I needed a bit more adhesives. You'll end up realizing this is a recurring theme in the Wasteland. For some reason, glue and tape just don't come by the carload. So I decided to browse the closer shops to Sanctuary, like down at the Drumlin Diner and my own personal shop I'd set up. But neither really had what I needed. Instead, it was Trash Can Carla to the rescue. Not only did she have the adhesives I needed, but she was also selling a biometric scanner. Let's go, Carla. Looks like I don't have to go into a crummy hospital after all. And so on day 23, I spent all day traveling over to the military base. The other thing I needed for my teleporter was a military-grade circuit board, and, what better place to find it? Along my way, I managed to find a cool bowling alley place. It was ran entirely by Mr. Handy's, and I thought about staying. Day 24, I spent all day working on my new greenhouse and polishing things up around the base before finishing up my teleporter and turning in early for the night. After all, I want to be fully rested if I'm going to go invade the Institute tomorrow. And on day 25, invade I did. But it was a lot less violent than I was originally imagining it going. Like, they just pretty much let me in with arms open, and it turned out that the father of the Institute, and pretty much all synthetic life as we know it, is actually Sean. My son. Yep, he's an old geezer now. It's going to take me a minute to get my head around this, but it turned out that he was actually kidnapped 60 years prior to me waking up.
Just help me understand what's going on here.
So now my son is technically older than me in some strange manner, at least he looks it. After this strange discovery, I spent all day 26 and 27 back at my own settlement, just working on things, trying to figure out what I wanted to do exactly. Not only was building up my settlement important, but I had a pretty big decision. Should I assist Sean in making sure the Institutes now run the Commonwealth, or should I put an end to it? I guess we'll have to wait and see. For all the times that I've been here and worked on it, I gotta say, town's looking pretty nice. I'd even call it a paradise within the Wasteland. But then again, maybe it's all going to my head.
I'm the king of kings.
Day 28, I went back out into the Wasteland. The Institute had a courser they wanted me to meet up with and go carry out a task. Figured I would at least hear them out on the first few missions. They were kind of the most advanced people in the Wasteland and certainly had the means to restore order. Also, and this may be the biggest part of staying with the Institute, as long as I'm in their good graces, I have access to their teleporter, which means no more walking around the Commonwealth.
You know what you're doing, right?
As long as I've been to a place before, I can teleport back to it.
Okay, that makes sense.
But along the way to find the Terminator thing, I got a little sidetracked, killed a group of raiders called the Forged, and saved some kid from making a bad mistake. In return, I got a pretty cool sword and access to his family's ranch. Which is nice, because this is on the east side of the Commonwealth, and, I don't really have much stuff established out here, so it'll be a nice little jumping point for all my future operations. Day 29, I was out to find some rogue synth and chop down all his raider henchmen along the way. And by chopping down, of course, I mean sniping off from very far away, so they won't see me and I can continue picking them off. Like shooting dumb irradiated fish in a big old barrel. After finding the synth and using his shutdown code, he went to sleep like a little baby. And I finished the final few goons, got my treasure for myself, finally returned to the Institute to claim my reward. Day 30, I spent all day tinkering on some new guns. I found these while I was down chasing that synth, so, time to outfit them. Speaking of outfits, I also wanted to refit my armor. Add a few more pieces of metal, and doodads here and there, just to make it a bit more defensive. The town is also starting to look mighty fancy now, so I feel good enough to leave it alone for a while. Maybe we'll come back later. do a little bit extra side detailing. 31, I'm going to track down some escaped synths, so into battle I go. But apparently this Bunker Hill place was a whole other settlement, as well as a hub for shops.
Our targets are inside.
Wow, kind of starting to regret attacking it now. Really wish I had visited here earlier in my days to, you know, use the shopkeepers, maybe befriend a few people. Tell them, hey, get the heck out of Dodge for whatever's about to come. But as it turned out, the Brotherhood of Steel was also there, and for some reason they wanted to light my ass up. Maybe it's because I was helping the synths, I'm not entirely sure, but this faction war's gotta end, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to be the loser in it. So I looted all the Brotherhood of Steel stuff, and I guess now they don't like me so much. That's okay. Day 32, I was back to the Institute and talking with Father, my son, about what happened at Bunker Hill. Now I actually got released from cryo. Turned out it was him all along, so sort of this weird what goes around comes around kind of thing, right? I got released and then tried to go find him, but in all reality, he was the one that released me. If only he had stayed there 20 minutes later, we could have just talked this out, and I could have saved a whole month of Wasteland exploration, and honestly, a whole lot of people could have lived. But that's beside the fact. After I got done in the Institute, I decided to stop back off in Diamond City and hit every shop on my way back to Sanctuary. This way I could get a few more adhesives on my way and upgrade all the things that I couldn't originally. Day 33 through 35, I was out in the Wasteland, discovering downtown Boston and all that it held. I wanted to gather as much scrap and supplies for my settlement as possible, as I had planned on making some rather large changes once I got back. I also had a large enough posse following me around now that I could dump off tons of weight onto them, and so essentially when I go back, it was like I was taking a whole 18-wheeler of supplies.
In the Wasteland, essential supplies will be scarce. When an item of value is found, keep it close and away from bullies. The stronger you are, the more you can carry. Be sure to know your limits, or you may find it challenging to escape from hazardous scenarios, no matter how strong you are.
It's kind of nice, you know? Nonetheless, my last stop ended with a strip mall that had tons of usable junk in it, so it seemed like a fitting way to end my exploration. After this, it was time to head home, drop my loot, and see what I got. Tons of plastic and aluminum, but that's okay, it'll be good for building buildings later on. Day 36, with all my traveling done and me having tons of supplies, I decided it was time for me to build up my second town. The drive-in that I had settled earlier seemed like a fitting place. It was flat enough and had enough building area that I should be able to make a small city there, you know, given time. 37, I was finishing up what I could at the drive-in and running out of supplies that I thought I would never need, such as glass, so from now on if I see a bottle, it's mine. 38, I'm out exploring the Wasteland, trying to find all the materials I still needed, and wandering through the heart of Boston. This time I was nearing College Park, though now it's filled with a bunch of zombie-like creatures with serious anger issues. Guess it really hasn't changed too much since before the war.
Your friendly old neighbor Johnny. Rather than coming over to borrow a cup of sugar, he may now be coming over for murder.
Wasn't all bad though. I found a lot of useful materials, as well as ran into a group of people that called themselves the Brotherhood of Steel. One of them was in a set of power armor, so they gotta be at least a little established out here and able to kick some ass. Anyways, I helped them with their ghoul problem, then assisted in getting a power source for them. Mostly just for the loot and caps, but you know, helping out feels nice too. Day 39, I'm still out exploring the Wasteland and ignoring the Brotherhood of Steel. They have extended an offer for me to help them, or them to help me, but you know, I did just have to murder tons of Institute synths in order to help them, so it kind of feels like betrayal. Not too long into my travels, I discovered a settlement made up entirely of Mr. Handy robots. It's kind of cool, given, well, I wouldn't have to feed any of them. Anyways, the settlement needed some help, and I needed some more items to scrap. So it's a win-win if you ask me. Day 40, I spent the whole day back at base, scrapping old weapons, armor I didn't need, and improving the ones I do. Pretty much took me all day as well as looking through all the options. 41, I'm back to working on the drive-in settlement. Made some major improvements, and you know, it's starting to look like ready to be a city. Basically, I laid out all the areas where the new buildings would go. Day 42, I'm out on a mission for the Institute. Apparently, one of the scientists knew where I could retrieve a source of power from the old world. It was a nuclear reactor. They wanted to get it turned on, but, you know, in order to get to it, of course, I'm going to have to battle through some bad guys. Or at least, you know, what now are bad guys, because it was an absolute slaughterfest of the Brotherhood of Steel. They were also trying to get to the power source, and, well, let's be real, if there's only one, it's going to be mine. So I guess they won't be friendly to me anymore after today. That's alright, though, they were mostly just getting in my way. Nonetheless, after I retrieved the radioactive death bomb, I was attacked by a sentry bot, and almost completely obliterated.
Just don't lose your head.
Luckily, that scientist lady couldn't really fall in combat, so I just hid and let her do all the dirty work. I mean, outside of that, she really didn't do anything else with me, so, you know, might as well earn your keep. 43, I'm returning to the Institute to do some discussing about all the good deeds I'd done, running around, chatting, and bam! Next thing I know, I'm head director of the Institute. Really didn't see that one coming, but, you know, hey, not bad. Less than 50 days into my resurfacing of this world, and I'm already taking over factions. I guess all these nerds gotta listen to me now. Woohoo! My first order of business is to bring back TV. I'm so bored out here in this wasteland. 44, I'm back to Sanctuary, improving my gear, working on the settlement in the slight ways, you know, improving the production value. Laying some more beds for settlers. And suiting up in armor. It's time for me to go finish off the railroad once and for all, because let's be real, there wasn't going to be a way for me to convince them to join the synths that they had been fighting against for so long, so gotta do what I gotta do. Day 45, with the railroad gone, there was only one other faction to stand in my way in the Commonwealth, and that's the Brotherhood of Steel. Likewise, didn't think I could talk to them, mostly because their guns were even bigger than the railroads. And that's not a phallic thing, it's true, they have a giant death robot. Which, speaking of, my plan is to sneak in and arm that thing to work for me. That's right, Century Prime will be an Institute robot that attacks its very creators. Long story short of how it went, there is tons of gunfire, explosions, and looting. And I made a big robot blow up a giant blimp for victory. Yep. Pretty much sums it all up. '46, back to the Institute to see Father about my reward. I mean, after all, this was a pretty big mission. I just blew up half the Commonwealth for him, so, you know, come on, give me something good. But instead of good news, I only received terrible news. Apparently, he's not going to make it either, so now everybody is gone. Like, I came out of the vault, and there was 3 factions fighting over the Wasteland, and next thing I know, bam, all 3 are kind of gone. Well, I kind of absorbed one. Nonetheless, with the railroad wiped out, and the Brotherhood of Steel gone, and now the original leader of the Institute passed away, I guess that makes me king of the Commonwealth. I like that title, it's got a bit of a ring to it. 47, after so much hostility, I decided it was time to take a day off. Went back to the drive-in settlement, start working on some of the finer details of life. Got a nice diner to go in and eat at, as well as a place to buy some clothing and armor. 48, still working on the settlement, this time going back and adding in the finer details of things. Shelves, random items laying on the floor, a couple guns here or there, you know, just in case. And finally on day 49, after a fair amount of research and scrolling through some menus as far as what my options could be, I headed back out into the Wasteland. Need a little more junk. This time I was running out of steel. That's one of the basic materials. Can't have that happening. Day 50, I'm out into the ruined Commonwealth looking for more junk, but instead I just managed to find a group of heavily armored super mutants, as well as some raider bodies that the super mutants just got finished with, so it's basically double loot for me. I'll take it. 51, I was traveling further south as well. I had never really made my way this far, and I stumbled upon a place called the Jamaican Plains, which had some lost treasure room, and after searching bodies, finding the holotapes, and, just general sleuthing, I found and looted it. Turned out they had a lot of pre-war stuff, and it was actually pretty cool. Nonetheless, as I was finishing up in the town, I found some kid locked inside a fridge. How'd you get in there, Johnny? Guess I'll take him back to his home so he can have some closure. I'm sure his parents passed away long ago, but, who am I to tell him that? Day 52, on my way to return the kid, I stumbled upon the town of Quincy. This is the city that Preston had told me so much about, where the Minutemen had first started. This was basically the Minutemen's first settlement, long before I was ever here. All the original settlers of Sanctuary came from here, and this is where they were betrayed and attacked from the very same gunner thugs that I was now gunning down and looting up. Gotta say, the crew was one of the most well-armed goons that I've seen in the Wasteland, which makes sense if they betrayed the Minutemen and just took all their stocks. Their guns were even better than mine, which, guess that's fine by me, because after I kill them, they're gonna become mine. So I strolled through the town, taking all the resources I could, and making my way straight on south. When day 53 came, and I was finally returning the kid to his parents, I got stopped by some fool trying to buy him. You want to buy this kid that I just shuffled all the way across the Commonwealth for a couple of caps? Yeah, more than anything, I'm a bit offended. So I blasted him, took his gear too. That'll show the Commonwealth thieves I'm not for hire, nor buying, unless you have more than a couple hundred caps, like a couple thousand, then, now we're talking. 55, I was exploring around when I ended up making my way back to an old high school. Granted, it was a complete disaster and overrun with a lot of large, angry idiots. That's kind of exactly how I remembered it, actually. 56, I was sneaking into a general store nearby the high school and stealing all that I could. Also had to fight off a huge deathclaw-like thing, because, 57, crawling through the sewers, fighting a whole lot of mire lurks. Basically looked like a lot of large, angry, mutant turtles. Not teenage turtles, like adult turtles. 58, I was just going through, scrounging buildings I could find and tearing it all down as I went. And, pretty much stacking my companions up to the brim. If Strong can't carry anymore, then I know I'm in trouble. Nonetheless, I did stumble across another giant deathclaw, and if it wasn't for the small army following me...
Remember, cooperation is the key to success. There's no I in nuclear wasteland.
Well, I probably would have been wrecked for sure. And finally, on 59, that's when I started to return home and drop off all the stuff that I'd found. From animal carcasses to tin cans, it was all going to be useful in the future. Speaking of which, 60 and 61, I was adding more buildings and room for settlers down at the drive-in settlement. I guess people need beds to sleep if they're going to be staying here. Something about the cold hard ground just doesn't attract people like it used to. 62, I'm down in an old abandoned quarry. Apparently before the bombs dropped, there was a cult down here. So after trekking through endless onslaughts of ghouls and raiders alike, I found a well. And I don't know what about it made me want to dive in, but I did. And at the very, very bottom, I found a dagger that dealt more damage than most of my guns. Maybe I should start being a little more stealthier and using only blades. Would save me a ton on ammo, but I'm kinda lazy, so I'll just hold it as a trophy for now. 63, I'm in some old witchcraft museum, it seems. There's a group of gunners that got attacked just outside of here, and as I was looting and following the blood trail, they seemed to make it look like a truly horrifying beast had gotten to them. So, well, I guess it's time to go check my merit, see what this beast is made of. And as per the usual, it turned out to be the biggest deathclaw that I'd ever seen. That's saying a lot, given I'd already seen probably 5. And I took down a big behemoth down in Diamond City, and that still wasn't even this big. But nonetheless, after taking it down, I looted the body of the leader of gunners, which was apparently trying to deliver the Deathclaw egg to Diamond City. Bet you that would have made one hell of an omelet. But I think I'll do the correct thing and return the egg back to its home nest. Who knows, maybe when this thing grows up, it'll return the favor and be like another companion of mine. 64, I was almost back to the place where the Deathclaw had been stolen from when I stumbled upon a small settlement. Or at least what once was a settlement. You could tell the buildings and everything hadn't been left there for long. But after climbing to the top of their tower and flipping the lever, I understood why. The goofballs had rigged up an alarm, but apparently this alarm only attracted Deathclaws, so there was a swarm of them now. Any more than just one is kind of a swarm. But thanks to my superior field tactics, I was able to quell the beast and continue on my mission, where I met my third Deathclaw of the day and returned her egg. She was so grateful she actually didn't attack me at all, so my plan pretty much worked. That is until I tried to steal the egg back for profits. I mean, come on, who doesn't love completing 2 missions from 1? She didn't like that and tried to go apeshit on me. But let's remember, I have a small army, and I was prepared. 65, I was taking it easy and making my rounds to all the shopkeepers I'd met in my time in the Commonwealth, as I was starting to run low on adhesives, and, you know, sometimes they have some duct tape or some super glue that I can buy off of them. Also, I really wanted to visit some old places that I hadn't been in a while. That's when a ghoul named Edward stopped me, proposed a job, said his boss would pay well, and that's all I needed to know. Yeah, you're not wrong. Caps are good, I'm in it. So I went and met with Mr. Cabot, and he told me some stories of aliens, yada yada yada. Apparently he wants me to go retrieve a lost shipment of some drugs he had. At least that's what I'm gonna call them. Should be easy enough. I mean, I found my son after 60 years in a post-apocalyptic world. I'm sure one package can't be that hard. Day 66, I was heading out to get the package for Jack, and returning it with relative haste. I mean, I'd already been to the location before, so there wasn't much to discover or get distracted by along the way. After returning it and getting my reward, the whole Cabot house asked me to go find the sister. Apparently she's a bit flighty and needed some convincing to come back. Wasn't too hard though. Day 67, Edward was being attacked at the same asylum I just came from. Seems a bit odd, but there's some raiders or something sneaking about. So Jack asked me to go back and get him. But once we were there, and after chopping my way through all the enemies of course, Edward had told me that the bandit leader was down below the elevator shaft trying to free Jack's dad, who apparently was the source of the family's immortality. Well, to me it just seems kind of like a whack job, but whatever. Finally reaching the dad seemed crazy given this was the source of immortality, and yeah, he seems just like a regular human. Well, nonetheless, it's time to put an end to all of this and finish him off, and the family serum along with it. I mean, come on, you can't go around being immortal. That's just wrong morally. Also, if I can't have it, nobody can. 68, I decided to take a break. Yeah, it rhymes. That's right. That time I did mean to do it. So I was back working with the settlements, trying to ease my mind from all the crazy missions that had ensued. Also, figured my settlers might like a bowling alley, because, you know I sure as heck would. Can't seem to get the TV working in the Wasteland, but we can still play some games. 69, I did some lighthearted traveling through the heart of Boston, just seeing what I could pick up in the heres and theres, and taking out a few camps of raiders along my way. Honestly, I feel pretty safe throughout the Commonwealth now, having a whole army of synths backing me, my companions, and some top-notch armor. Day 70, as I was making my way north out of the city, I started hearing some gunfires and explosions loud enough to equate that of a small army laying waste to some poor souls, so I decided to go check it out. Turned out to be a swarm of robots attacking another robot, and yeah, they were all strapped as hell. But my long days and nights in the Wastelands haven't been for nothing, so my advanced combat skills allowed me to not only prevail, but to save the one being attacked. After the battle, Ada, which was the robot, told me about her caravan, the evil villain responsible, and apparently they were making tons of robots and sending them out into the Commonwealth to bring justice, or peace, as they called it. And last I checked, that's my job. I didn't go take over the Institute and blow up 2 other factions just so some new guy could come in and run my streets.
You disrespect me and you're gonna get slapped!
So of course, this means war. 71? Of course, wars are usually won by those who are more prepared and more willing to play dirty, so, you know, I can work on one of those 2 things, and the opportunity for the second will arise shortly, I'm sure of it. Nonetheless, I was making my way around all the shops as well as building up my own special robot companion to help me fight this villain. I also built a fully custom suit of power armor to go bulldozing through the secret villain lair, but it turned out the Skyrim-inspired power armor was far better than anything I could create or find anywhere else, so looks like we'll be rocking that till the end of my days. 72, I went rolling back through the shops. I got thousands of caps now, and might as well put them to good use by buying all the materials that I can. 73, I was out scrounging the materials that I couldn't buy, which just makes good sense if you ask me personally. And taking down a few bandits, gunners, or slaughtering robots along the way, honestly, is a piece of cake. Well worth the payoff. 74, I decided I would assist some more settlements on Preston's request. Figured, you know, if I'm going to be looting anyways, might as well make a little bit of progress with the Minutemen. I really just wanted the new settlements so I could scrap everything for a ton of personal profits. Or a big PP, if you will. Wait a minute. 75, I was finishing working up on my power armor sets and deciding which one I would take out. Spoiler alert, it was the Skyrim one. Some of them had some bugs in the systems and they weren't fully effective as I couldn't really run around in them, so kind of wasted a little bit of time there. Nonetheless, after my fiddling was done, I got my first lead on the mechanical menace and went out to find him. And so on day 76, I was installing the upgrade that I'd stolen from the enemy's robot onto my own personal one, aka Ada. And this way we could track down where the villain was actually hiding, bring him to justice. But unfortunately it was encoded as per the usual for my quest here go. So I gotta track down 2 more brain bots in order to get all the info I need. Which, you know, easy enough. Just snuck up in my OP power armor set and blasted them. 77, I was taking out the last heap of trash. This would be the last bit of information I needed to finally decode the info and find the villain's secret lair. But this time it wasn't just robots, there was bandits there as well. Of course they weren't on my side. When was the last time I got some real help in the Commonwealth? 78, I was finding the final piece I needed to locate the enemies once and for all, as well as suiting up to go take them down. I also managed to fight my way through tons of scrap metal along the way, like literal tons of robots. Which is fine, I guess. I've fought super mutants, humans, weird irradiated bugs, so why not robots now? 79 was a long one. Spent all day in the mechanist's lair, getting closer every hour, but who knew how long one base could truly go on for. But after several locked doors and trash bots later, I found him, hiding behind a glass wall. And, you know, it was at this point that we took on the classic villain hero montage.
Wait, my reign of terror?
Them sending out tons of waves of robots, and me destroying them simultaneously. As more bots came, they got stronger, of course, and his systems got weaker. So by the end, he was completely out of ammunition. And, well, so was I, actually. After this, we had a simple talk, and it turned out the mechanist was actually a female. And, yeah, she was pretty sound-minded, so it turned out that evil villain was not so evil. She was just making robots who were supposed to help humans. Turned out that the robots themselves had decided that in order to help people, they needed to end their lives. I can understand how that goes, you know. Nonetheless, her lair was now mine, and she became just another friendly shopkeeper, so all's well that ends well if you ask me personally. Sure, it was a whole lot of work, but I can now build my own personal robots, as well as have access to a couple more scrap materials. Days 80 through 82, I worked on my drive-in settlement. To call it a town now, I think would be a little bit of an understatement. It's a living, breathing, thriving city. The boardwalks bustle and the streets sound alive. Not to mention the fact of how many caps and materials I put into this place, so if I don't call it a city, I think it'll be a little bit of an insult to myself. 83, I'm off to Diamond City. Ellie, Nick's old secretary, had been sending messages saying a new job had just come up. Something about a missing persons case, and well, I know how those feel, so I decided we'll go take a look. Probably just some raiders or gunners trying to get a bounty after all. 84, I'm out in Far Harbor, following my lead. Gotta say, this place seems creepy. There's fog everywhere. Not even 5 minutes into me being here, some all-new monsters came barreling out of the fog, spitting globs of fiery mucus at us, so ew. And I thought this was supposed to be a simple missing persons mission. Seems like things might go for the long haul here, so I'm gonna run home and get my power armor before this gets out of hand. 85, after having returned to Sanctuary, then back to Far Harbor, I figured it was time to head off into the fog with good old Longfellow. And of course, inside it we find scavengers, monsters, and ghouls alike. But at the top of the hill, as we were climbing, fresh air. Nice, because the rest of this stuff was all radiation poisoned. Not only that, but a settlement of synths, all devoted to giving synths a free place to live, think, and be themselves. That's a real thing. Apparently the leader was actually Nick Valentine's brother of a sort. He was the other original prototype from the Institute, and was actually the reason they both escaped. 86, I'm looking for Dima's backed up memories. Apparently some people who call themselves the Children of Adam have it, so I guess I'll be paying a visit to these fanatics once more. Thought they were only located back in the Commonwealth, but I guess everywhere that this radiation poisoning goes, so too do the crazies. Nonetheless, I can't imagine what I'll have to do with them this time, given last time they wanted me to pray to some atomic bomb. I guess we'll see along the way. 87, I spent a lot of the day in the computer program trying to unlock Dima's memory. Gotta say, playing a tower defense puzzle game is not what I thought this mission would entail, so I don't know whether to be happy or upset. 88, I'm heading out to the furthest reaches of the island. Here, Dima has hidden a secret launch code. I want to know what it's for, and of course, this required a bit of unwanted swimming.
We will all be faced with many new and unfamiliar health risks, such as infection, sudden loss of limb, and above all, harmful radiation.
And coming across the tracks of a beast larger than any I'd ever seen, and that's a lot given the death claws that I'd seen previously. It was a Mirelurk queen. She shot big balls of spit at me, as well as giving birth to hundreds of hatchlings. But thanks to my extended time in the Commonwealth and the best arsenal Caps can buy and salvage, I slayed the would-be monarch and took the meat for a feast later on. It's gonna be delicious and a well-earned meal. 89, I decided to travel back to Sanctuary. So many hostile situations have been going on, I needed to rest up a bit, drop loot, and let my own personal doctor take a look at me, see what strange side effects that island may have caused. Also, I decided to upgrade Codsworth a little bit. I realized he was lacking quite a lot when we faced that huge Mirelurk, and he was just pretty much running up and smacking her with a saw. And trust me, it did not work. Day 90 back in Far Harbor and back to work. This time I was headed to an abandoned Vim factory. Vim's kinda like, Nuka-Cola, only different. Turned out to be full of super mutants and one really large and ugly mutated giant. Kinda like Swan, but in its own regards, a whole different kind of ugly. Anyways, after making my way through to Dima's secret hidden lair, at the end of the factory, I discovered he had actually been killing / replacing people with synths. That's even worse than the Institute, who usually just places new ones in. Okay, sometimes we kidnap them, but you know, what are you gonna do about it? 91, I was headed out into a rundown fishing dock. Apparently the launch code for the nuclear craft that was located near the Children of Adam was on one of these pre-war ships that went down. So it's time for me to take a little dive into some super irradiated waters and hope I don't come out with 3 arms. After that, I had everything I needed to go confront Dima, and it's time to see what that big dork can do about explaining all these secrets, and his intentions to wipe the island of everybody on it, minus the synths. Thought he wanted peace, love, and happiness. Day 92, I was basically running around explaining the situation to everybody. When you have so many lost memories, it's hard to play catch-up quickly. So, yeah. Oh, I also went over to the Children of Adam just to finish them off for good. Couldn't have these lunatics always coming at me just because they thought I didn't want to drink their magic soup. To do this, I just activated the big bomb that they all worshipped. Seemed a bit ironic, but you know, that's what they get for being a bunch of fools standing around it. Anyways, besides the belated Children of Adam, everybody seemed happy with the outcomes of everything, and most importantly, I returned the girl to her family. So my record for cases cleared remains at 100%. Yeah, I've only had 2 cases, my own and hers, but you know, if there's a person that needs to be tracked down, I have the best track record. Time to head back home and to rest up for a little bit. That was quite the adventure, and well, I'll be happy to put my feet up and not have something try to chew him off. 93, I'm down in Diamond City. I figured Ellie from Nick's detective agency was the one who originally gave me this job. So it only seemed right to finish things up back with her. But she basically just said good job, and that was a bit anticlimactic if you ask me, because I literally just went and risked my neck for this girl. But, you know, whatever, I guess I'm pretty used to letdowns now. So in order to take out my frustrations, I figured it was time to go deal with some raiders. Apparently while I was gone from the Commonwealth, they thought it would be an okay idea to harass my citizens at the drive-in settlement. I'm gonna go show them how pre-war punishment is served. I mean, come on, I single-handedly destroyed the Brotherhood of Steel and Railroad. You really think your little raider posse stands a chance? Day 94, I traveled back out to Far Harbor. I realize now I didn't really interact with the island nor its people much when I was there, just kinda went and got the job done. So I want to go see if there's anything else there worth looking for. Maybe a nice vacation spot away from the Commonwealth, a little house on the beach, so to speak. But first, gotta get all this annoying fog dealt with, and that requires the help of the locals. Not looking at you, Preston, I realize the Minutemen still need some help. You shove off.
Yes, gone are the simple days of yesteryear. Now the common workman must also be a covert operative. The farmer, a master of the martial arts. The ice cream man, a nuclear physicist. How will you make sense of it all?
96, I'm off to prove myself to the people of Far Harbor, so they'll get off my back and actually help me fix this island. I mean, come on, if they're all constantly at each other's throats, we can't ever get any good work done. And I want my vacation home to be up sooner rather than later. I've come too far to not have margaritas on the beach. So apparently the trial I have to do in order to gain their trust is to slay a Mirelurk. From baby all the way up to the legendary queen, who I'd already apparently dealt with, but there'll be another, so that's alright. This one almost got me, for sure, though. She was much closer than the one that I'd been shooting off the island. And if it wasn't for my large army of dummies blocking the way, I probably wouldn't have survived very long. But alas, I emerged victorious. And after this, the harbor people celebrated me. But I couldn't really care less about their favors. As long as they were ready to rebuild the island and clear this fog, and I could get to work on my vacation home. 97, I'm making preparations to build the largest city the Wasteland has ever seen. I'd heard rumors of great cities in far-off states across the U.S., but this one, this will be the beck and call for all adventurers nationwide. This will bring every great achiever, every mission completer, and every settlement builder together to rejoice in the greatest city the post-apocalyptic world has ever seen. 98, I was building a bowling alley back at one of my settlements. Needed a bit of time to think about how I wanted the large city to go, and also I figured the people of the Commonwealth needed a place to go kick back and have a smile or two when the day's work was done. 99, I'm back home, outfitting my robots with their final few upgrades. Something about a giant laser death machine just seems really cool on Codsworth, so, you know, why not? I was also getting things set up for my extended vacation. I'll be gone to Far Harbor for a while, so I want to make sure things are good here, and when I get back, I want to make sure nobody's killed each other and tried to take over my settlements, you know what I mean? And finally, on day 100, I was clearing way for that beach house I wanted and laying the groundwork for the best vacation of my life. Retirement. The one-way trip. Vacation where I never have to return to worry, stresses, nor concerns. I went from being a pre-war popsicle to a post-apocalyptic powerhouse, commanding almost every corner of Boston as well as quelling all disputes and forms of turmoil along my way. Not only that, but I have 2 great cities as tokens of my giving back to the Commonwealth, and a couple of towns here and there for the enjoyment of everybody. Now I'd say it's time for me to take it easy. No more ghouls and Mirelurks, no super mutants or super ugly raiders to deal with from now on. I'm gonna kick back at my vacation home and build my next great city.
I close my eyes. I see my life before all of this. Before the bombs. Everything can change in an instant, and the future you plan for yourself shifts, whether or not you're ready. At some point, it happens to all of us. This wasn't the world I wanted, but it was the one I found myself in. The Commonwealth. My home. Ripped apart and put back together. I hoped I could find my family, cheat time, make us whole again. the way we were. But now I know. I know I can't go back. I know the world has changed, that the road ahead will be hard. This time, I'm ready. Because I know war. War never changes.
So that's it then. My 100-day adventure into the post-apocalyptic wasteland had been, well, long, hard, and full of surprises. But it was definitely worth it in the end, and I'll say that I learned a ton. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like down below, comment on what your favorite day was, and of course subscribe. This video took over 100 hours of playtime, and that's not even including the time to set up the mods, read through to understand how each one works, and of course edit all of that footage down. I ended up with over 1,000 gigabytes of video data, so you do the math on how many scenes I had to cut out in order to shorten this down as much as I did. Once again, I want to say thank you all for being so supportive along the way, and being patient as this video was in the works. No, it's not easy waiting on these spicy 100 days, but they're most certainly worth it. I feel that anyways, and I hope you do too. Nonetheless, I hope you have a great day, great life. Come back to watch more videos.
Regularly study your Vault Tech provided materials to prepare for survival. And to answer the question, do you know what makes you special?